Hello YouTube and welcome back to the zone. Now guys, if the last Christian saga, the Vanessa Hudgens saga, was unexpectedly short, this one is going to be a little bit more interesting because this is the Cwckipedia saga. And what I had to do for this is that rated M for mature and honest content. Now I should point out there is some NSFW stuff in this article, so I'm going to make sure to cut out the display capture just so, you know, I don't get banned from YouTube. That should help clear everything up. So, with all that being said and done, let's get started. Cwckipedia, 4th of May 2009 to the 26th of June 2010. Not to be confused with the Quickie, which was set up by the same webmaster, was a wiki set up for the sole use of Christian Western China, as a sort of personal wiki as opposed to Chris vandalizing the Quickie with his random access humor, ego stroking, and sweet sex. Furthermore, it was designed to allow Chris to get the truth out as he so desired to do on his Wikipedia profile. Since its inception, Chris more or less treated the page as a free web hosting, a place to put his comics without having to pay for the resulting bandwidth use, which is a violation of terms of service. Cwckipedia also served as the ultimate test of MediaWiki software and its usability, in it that it strove to create a platform that even an autistic man-child layabout can easily use. While Chris does possesses some technological intelligence, he still managed to fuck it up from time to time, even with a sysop holding his hand. And you can see right here, Chris proudly claimed the Wikipedia in the name of Quickville. Yeah, okay, great start. What do you expect? And let's begin with the origins side of things. Cogsdev informed Chris of the Cwckipedia's existence sometime in May of 2009. Subsequently, Chris began to edit it on the 7th of June 2009. For several months, Chris's use of the wiki proceeded without incident. That's a good start. He was able to display his comics and music, share more details of his personal life, not too sure if we really need to do that, reveal more background information about the world of Quickville, and shout his bizarre homophobic rantings from the virtual rooftops in peace. Well, again, it's not really safe to do that, but okay. The administrators of the site remained a silent, benevolent force behind the scenes. Towards the end of 2009, however, this would change. Content. Most of what appeared on the Cwckipedia can be found on this site, within various articles. These were the main headlines. Christian in his own words, a copy of what he had to try to add on his Cwckipedia talk page, Sonichu comic collection, the Sonichu video books collection, character bios, the Christian truth. Because the trolls and all such pig-headed, close-minded idiots refused to let me tell them the truth of their websites, with my own past edits they have undone, here is where I correct some of their pages filled with half-truths, exaggerations, and lies. 1. The revised Encyclopedia Dramatica webpage. 2. Gal pals and past sweethearts. Plenty more to come. Periodicals. Copies of Chris's articles in Nintendo Power Magazine and PVCC's news report about Sonichu. Dating education. He still believes it. Why doesn't he not teach? Actually, that's a terrible idea. And Little Big Planet. Please be advised by the rules of downloading my levels to your console. 1. Downloading of said levels are for your own console gameplay only. Republishing of any of my levels with any edits resulting in mockery, slander, homosexual tendencies, and or hate will be reported with the good grief to media molecule, which may result in it being banned from the Little Big Planet community. Also view the EULA terms from within the Little Big Planet's game pause menu. These rules apply also, respectively to the Mod Nation Races game and all tracks, cars, and characters downloaded therein from my own creation from the PSN Sonichu account. Thank you for your loyalty support. And again, Chris, good job for, telling them your Sonichu account, your account on your PlayStation Network. Great thing to put start. Private villa of corrupted citizens, quick speaks, homosexuality, story of my love quest and days, family guy, mailbag, blah 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 blah. Now, guys, the Cwckipedia advertisements, I should warn out, this is the first of the NSFW stuff, so I'll make sure to block out what's about to come, but I'll only describe it for you guys. Chris also had a tendency to let his mind wander while typing up his entries. For example, in his Sonichu article, he ended up going off on a tangent about explaining what happened to Kel, even though it didn't involve Sonichu at all, and the fact that Chris himself is the leader of the Quickville Pokemon Gym. Again, who asked though? This led to Chris describing his supposed gym at length, what Pokemon he had in his team, and his collection of Pokemon in the game, in addition to their level and how he had leveled them. This somehow led to an idea for a Pokemon game system that was basically just the Solid Vision holographic projector system from Yu-Gi-Oh!, except with Pokemon. After all of that after all that nonsense, he got back to talk about Sonichu again. And now, let's just hide that for a second. Now, the first thing you need to understand is that this is where somebody put up advertisements, and it's a picture of a naked woman with two blokes side to side with about 8-inch long dicks, and Chris in the derpy face there. Cwckipedia advertisements. And there's also one about the revised front of the page with Sonichu and Rosie, as we saw in the beginning. No advertisements are allowed within the Cwckipedia front page. Introduction box, whatever. Whatever. Sincerely, the Mayor of Quickville. What? Okay. As of 2009, it came to a close as Cwckipedia's operators ran into financial trouble, keeping the site in the black, given the many hits it received on a daily basis and the profusion of large files that were held on its servers. To help keep the site up and running for its true and loyal fanbase, the sysop that maintained the website for Chris turned to selling advertising space on the site. Due to the somewhat complicated laws of the jurisdiction in which the servers resided, ads could be purchased from within the European Union. Well, it's a good job. Nah, never mind. Chris made no money from advertising revenue. He never would. All of it went towards keeping the Cwckipedia up and running. Okay, so now that we've gone beyond that, we can get this thing back up again. That's better. These ads were all randomly generated by metadata from Chris and the people browsing the site. Not special handcrafted ads made by trolls, but because of the occasional troll with gay porn in their cookies, the odd homoerotic ad appeared, and Chris was not pleased. Chris responded to these ads with a few complaints to the admin and Jack Thaddeus. Jack, I'm pretty sure, had absolutely nothing whatsoever to do with these, who was the only donor who delivered over 1,000 euros, then 1,482 US dollars, qualifying him to create custom advertisements on the site. In a blog post, Chris hoped that someone within the EU would be able to step up and donate so much money that they not only qualify for custom ads, as Jack had, but help to remove the homoerotic ads that appeared on the site. Even though most online advertisers give no such heavy-handed prefrontal treatment to premium advertisers, and indeed no such stated policy existed with Cwckipedia either. Shockingly, none of his European fans felt like donating thousands of euros so that Chris didn't have to occasionally glimpse a shirtless man. That's a good point. On the 27th of December 2009, the ad space previously at the very bottom of the Cwckipedia's nav bar on the left side of the page was moved to the very top of the nav bar. Oh no. Another ad appeared on Chris's main page beside the logo. On the 28th of December, Chris flipped out and replaced it with an ad for his beloved My Coke Rewards program. The sysop reverted it and reprimanded Chris, informing him that Chris, had no control over the ad placement, because, you know, he didn't. On the 30th of December 2009, Chris, unable to change the now protected main page, lashed out the only way he could by adding a block of text to the bottom of its already hideously ugly and cluttered front page image, declaring that no ads were allowed on that page. Furthermore, it said that he would not remove this block of text until the offending ads were removed from the web page. In other words, Chris defaced his own website on purpose in an attempt to get someone else to stop advertising on it. This obviously did not work. On the 2nd of January 2010, Chris began cluttering the website with his ads again, shilling for Coca-Cola, Avatar, and Proposition 8. He bestowed upon himself the title of Captain, posting to Cwckipedia. I have another pair of pages for today, and I will answer another mailbag or two after uploading. But I also have another announcement. Jack thinks he can get away with occupying my introduction box with any ad. Well, I have a few items I fully support as well. I will be placing my own ads around the Cwckipedia, as I assert my rights to do so as captain of this website vessel. I do not want my ads removed or replaced by anyone other than myself. Additionally, Chris posted the following message to his Twitter. CC Sonichu says, remove any and all of my ads is considered mutiny, and mutiny will not be tolerated. Stay safe. You know, Chris, you could have just like gone to... Couldn't Chris just say something like, this was intended for... This page was intended for children, and we felt as if posting these sort of images, these indecent images of, you know, people doing homoerotic things was very inappropriate. To be honest, that's all really Chris could have done to have convinced anyone otherwise. But then again, considering what had happened to his comics, I think it was like past the point of no return, to be honest. As to whether or not Jack would receive 40 lashes, less one for his inevitable insubordination, Chris had no comment. Due to gay porn ads on the Cwckipedia on the 1st of February 2010, Chris unleashed a curse upon Mayo Bamboo, Ling, after he apologized to Alec and Evan. Eventually, on the 26th of February 2010, Jack Thaddeus returned with an unclickable ad reading, Jack's back, and featuring a picture of a giant ejaculating dick. Chris surprisingly never reacted, conceivably not having seen it. Well, if it was that big, I'm pretty sure it would be pretty difficult to see. Okay, so what we're going to have to do again, guys, is that I'll have to click off that and literally expand this. Now, some of this is okay. It's audiobook, Asperger's syndrome is a serious condition, get the facts right, taste the juicy crunch, it's pickles, Peter Griffin and Seth MacFarlane support gay rights, shouldn't you? That's obviously meant to tick off Chris because you know it would. We all know how manly Axe is. It's a shirtless guy and presumably pantless as well. Enter our contest. It's a guy in a pickle with a sombrero. Pole Daddy answers both gay or lesbian. Which one is it, Chris? With a picture of Sonic beside it. More games. Also, quit playing the waiting game. Wait for day 3. I fuck on the first stage. Written on the shirt. Let's see. More gay porn. Referencing she came for CWC. More gay porn. Join now, Duck Preservation Society. You should always take good care of your duck. Okay. Plus, if you go blind, you can't enjoy a shirtless man. Fair enough. Gay for God, the village people. More stuff. Just, Jesus Christ, this goes on for a bit, doesn't it? After you die, you don't get your comeuppance. It's more gay ads, Pokemon, autism, Billy Mays, more. Christ, this goes on for a bit, doesn't it? Yeah, you pretty much get the idea. If you're really that interested, just go on to Cwckipedia right now if you want to check this out, because just I could understand on once. Listen, if it was like my sort of thing and people were just putting gay porn and that all over it, I pretty much would have just gone straight to, you know, the site administrator. Even if, you know, I knew fine well this wasn't meant to be my administrator whatsoever, but I would have contacted someone saying that this was most inappropriate because it's not supposed to be intended, you know, to show off gay porn. If that makes sense, I would want to keep a certain level of respectability, you know. and just try to show that, you know, like I said, if I was Chris, I would have 100% stated this. My comic was intended for children. Unfortunately, again, considering Chris's comic at the time, there was no way. In fact, there was no way that anybody would have taken Chris's words seriously. The Twitter feed. On the 25th of December 2009, the Wiki Sysop added a live Twitter feed to the mailbag. This was short-lived, as on the early morning of the 27th, Chris removed it in a fit of rage and added the following note. I will have no discussions going on behind my back on my own website whatsoever. I do not support you goddamn gays. I fucking hate all of you, who are the majority of trolls who mess with me and my life. Go get your own life and leave me alone. No Twitter allowed. Well, there you go. Pretty much. Exactly 5 minutes later, Chris would create a special page for the Twitter feed and delete his homophobic outburst. I bet he did. Quoted above. Chris would create a Twitter account for himself the very next day. Fitting. Regaling his followers with stories of him doing yard work. The Wise and the Magnolious Sysop later put the feed on the front page of the Cwckipedia, due to the fact that it probably needed some wider exposure. A history of unavailability. Cwckipedia closed due to AIDS. During the last weeks of 2009, Chris became more and more infuriated as the gay ads continued piling up. In desperation, Chris began placing ads of his own that didn't inspire uncomfortable questions about his sexuality. Again, the Sysop ordered Chris to cease his insubordination. On the 2nd of January 2010, the Cwckipedia was served a cease and desist notice by the Coca-Cola Company for its unauthorized use of their logo on the site. What a surprise. Thus, the Sysop was forced to close the website a few days until the matter could be resolved. Having gotten a little first-hand lesson regarding what copyright law is all about, Chris issued an apology on YouTube. In the video, he claimed that he thought Coke would appreciate the free advertisement. That's not how that works. Naturally unaware that Coke probably don't want their products advertised on a quasi-literate homophobe's shrine to his Sonic recolors. Within a few days, all depictions of the logo were removed and the site was up and running. Closed again due to theft. In the early morning of the 6th of February 2010, the Cwckipedia was closed down again, this time thanks to a DMCA request from representatives of Evan George. According to the request, Chris's use of the character Simone Rosechew on his website and in the comics infringed upon Evan's intellectual property, as Simona was clearly derivative of Evan's character Simone Chew. This was most likely triggered by Chris's announcement, in a video from the 5th of February, that he agreed to do away with Simona and stop featuring her in his comics, but only at an unspecified later date. 3 days after the Cwckipedia was locked to edits, it was wiped from the internet entirely. In its place appeared a redirect to Asperdigia. However, due to a bug, it redirected to an online role-playing game, Dogs of the Seas. Is that like one of those crappy, like, is it meant to be like UB Funkies, where you just, like, you got a disc and a, like a figurine of some kind and just played in an online community? Is it, or is it meant to be like Club Penguin or something like that? God almighty, do the friggin' UB Funkies servers even still operate now after, like, nearly 14 years? On the 12th of February 2010, the Cwckipedia was revived to a certain extent. Although it was still locked to edits and only a login required screen was accessible, it was functional enough for Alec Benson Leary to display the first 2 pages of Sonichu Revolution. The next day, Chris fulfilled Evan's request and the Cwckipedia was restored for all people to see. Sonichu Revolution continued onward from there, prominently featured at the top of every page of the Cwckipedia. On the 24th of February 2010, a new set of ads appeared on the Cwckipedia, calling Chris out on his unwarranted self-importance on his birthday. with a message from Sean imploring fans to give gifts to victims in Haiti instead. That's a much better idea. For a few days after this, visitors were treated to the sight of a series of animated ads featuring gigantic ejaculating cocks. Revenge from Jack Furious in response to Chris's execution of the Aspidisia 4 at the end of Sonichu number 10. Closed due to parody. Also, you might want to take a look at your site before you go around advertising it. Some pretty vulgar vandalism you have going on there on a majority of pages. Some guy on Little Big Workshop, Chris never read this and discovered the vandalism the next day. Going into March 2010, Chris appeared to lose all interest in updating the site or presenting any meaningful new content. He neglected updating the mailbag and stopped uploading new comic pages. Even the people on Power Comics have a more regular schedule than this. Also, their work is of substantially higher quality than Chris could even think of. His only additions to the site in the first 3 weeks of March were a series of rants directed at trolls and his fans, where he accused them of breaking up his pursuit of the Wallflower, and complained that the demand for new Solitude comics was ruining his life. Right. Okay. On the 18th of March 2010, Cwckipedia was taken down and replaced with a redirect to a parody version of the website run by Mayo. The SysOp had decided to allow Mayo to buy a permanent redirect for $100. Since Chris was the captain, he decided to sail the SS Cwckipedia into an iceberg and let it sink, making Jack pull all his funding and forcing the SysOp to shut the site down for good. Cwckipedia open for everyone! Stop this. This is my domain. I will not have you faggots screwing it up. Chris, somewhat upset. A day later, however, the original Cwckipedia returned. At the same time, Mayo was given a SysOp, bureaucrat, and oversight powers on the site, suggesting the arrival of a new captain on deck. The result was much good vandalism, most notably on the main page itself, by Kine, SeanBot MK2, AlecBot MK2, EvanBot MK2, and Metal Asperchu. Soon, account creation was enabled for all the website, was vandalized beyond recognition in a glorious blizzard of pickles and unflattering internal links. Oh boy. One of the hundreds of images uploaded by trolls during the epic vandalism. Chris has never spent more than, let's say, 5 minutes outside, so I'd imagine his skin could pretty much get tan that badly. Like, who was even this meant to, was this meant to be in the first place? Cwckipedia Death and Resurrection. Early on the 22nd of March, the SysOp returned to the site after being busy on other projects, and quickly reversed everything back to the pre-Mayo state of the site. However, much of the vandalism continued to remain in the history of many of the pages, and several pages were not changed back, either due to her skipping over them or simply not caring. During the early hours of the 31st of March, the front page of the Cwckipedia decomposed into HTML code. This was attributed to the nature of the 110 megabyte server. The true and honest version created by Mayo died in July. Whether it was coincidence or an act of God bear Jesus, the Cwckipedia came back on Easter Sunday. It is more likely that some technicians actually worked through the Easter weekend just so an autistic man-child could carry on by putting up badly drawn comics when he felt like it, or when he was not proclaiming that they were ruining his life, which they weren't. Treacherous mutiny. On the 24th of April 2010, the SysOp uploaded the rest of Solitude number 11 and updated the captain's log. However, many quickly learned that these new pages may have not been as true and honest as they first appeared, as they involved Solitude and Rosechew filing for divorce, Reginald Sneasel whipping it out in front of Robbie Sandy getting hit by a car, Wild committing suicide by blowing his head off, and all three of the Solitude kids getting killed by drinking a detergent. Actually, Sarah survived, but was put out of her misery by being smothered with a pillow. Jesus. No idea what that was about. Anyway, 2 days later, Chris discovered the vandalism and replaced all of the images with a disclaimer that work on Sonichu number 11 was ongoing. He then called out on the Sysop's treacherous mutiny, but was willing to forgive her, probably by virtue of her sex. He then ranted about how he would find peace off the internet, suggesting he may quit the internet. Again, spoiler alert, he didn't. A new face. Do not South Park my work. You know, if South Park actually did if Trey Parker and Matt Stone actually did that to Chris, it's the biggest thing he probably could have ever have been given. Just saying. On the 13th of May 2010, a new user called Dossier Camacho appeared on the Cwckipedia. She then proceeded to edit the main page and its templates, as well as making new character bios. Chris, still highly paranoid after Jackie, reverted her edits on the 14th of May. The next day, displaying HTML skills similar to Chris, she broke the main page, which was again reverted, and added a message. Jesus, what the hell is wrong with this? It's just like a whole series of just like people breaking into this. How well was this website actually protected from this sort of trolling? We all know why. Chris then added his own response on the 16th of May, telling her to not South Park his work. Dossier Camacho was eventually revealed to be Mayo. Cwckipedia gets gangbanged again. On the 26th of May 2010, Cwckipedia was hacked again, and once again it was open to everyone. Several pages, once blanked and or deleted, were restored, and Sonichu number 11 had the false and dishonest comic pages back up. Frustrated by his new wave of trolling, Chris, in a video message, abandoned ship. As of today, May 27th, 2010, I, Christian Weston Chandler, relinquish what was the Cwckipedia. I am keeping ownership of what it was before yesterday, as well as my Sonichu, Rosechu, Quickville, and all therein. I stand by my own past statements, and I ignore the heavily disagree with, detest, and abolish all that's stated against me on the internet. I never meant to become famous, and I wish to go back to there was little against me. With the declaration made, the Cwckipedia rapidly began to dissolve into chaos. However, Mayo Ling swooped in and rescued it, given to Vivian G. The Cwckipedia was revived and a new season of Sonichu began. The end. On the 26th of June 2010, the Cwckipedia, or Sonichu Fans Wiki, as it's been called on its new owners, was finally terminated. And it looks like it was kept down anyway. So, that's pretty much the end of that. Okay guys, so that was the Cwckipedia saga, courtesy of the I literally thought I hadn't even put the display capture back up again. I literally thought like I was just gonna like leave that up there. In fact, speaking of leaving things up there, it's probably for the best that the original Cwckipedia kind of just went down, because and again, this is like why you don't use Wikipedia to sort of like reference stuff if you're writing an essay, because anybody can edit the page. And actually, you know what? I'm more surprised that it dissolved into chaos from the very beginning, that nobody just decided to slightly exaggerate or slightly temper with some of the entries. But then again, of course, it begs the question as to why even bother giving Chris a site on the website anyway, because he's going to attract trouble, because he's been attracting numerous trolls for a good few years at this point. He must have like realized that, you know what, again, I've said this before and I'll say this again, the more times I actually believe Chris to believe or have any sort of moniker of common sense, he will immediately prove everybody wrong. So I suppose just let Chris kind of get on with it. He'll do whatever he wants, and you know what, we don't need to be here to tell him to we told him so, because it's pretty obvious at this point. So, with all that being said and done, I hope you guys have enjoyed this reading of the Cwckipedia, courtesy of the Quickie. Please make sure to leave your thoughts and comments in the comment section down below. Let me know what you guys thought of the article yourself. And I hope to see you guys again in the next video. Take care. Bye-bye for now.